Hello, wonderful people. Today we're going to be looking at how we can internationalize our Symfony 7 application. So let's jump in. So if we head over to the project, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create an event. I have a certain way of creating these events. So I create an event folder and then create the type of event that it is. So for example, in this situation, it's a subscriber. So we'll create a file in here and we'll call it regional configuration subscriber, like so. And then this will be as event listener, like so. And then inside of here we have a public function which is get. You know what? I'll implement the like so, and then just to add the stubs so I don't have to write it out manually. Array, like so, and then this will return an array of requests. Right, so in this one we want to have the kernel. Request event like so, and then we're going to say handle time zone. And then in here we create another one. And we don't know what it's going to return yet, so let's think about this for a moment. So each time our application gets a request, this event will get triggered, and then we're going to need to do something with it. We're going to need to set the settings from the previous one, or set the new settings. So this would mean that we'll need the request stack. So we can, inside of the constructor, maybe we can actually access it from the event. Request event. Let's see what's available on this. We can see we can get the request. We can get the get session. Yes, there we go. Okay, and that's what we want. And then we should be able to get yes. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've got the session, and now we can and what else do we need? Let's say locale. Now for this one we can use the default, which will be the underscore locale, and that's just the Symfony defined parameter. So now we know that this will be returning void, and now what we want to do is we want to access the session and set the time zone, but we only want to do it if the time zone is empty. Time zone like so, and there we go. But we need to set the correct values, and there we go. That should do the trick. Now, problem is that our application doesn't have any of this yet. So how can we do that? So we need to go into our controllers, and we'll create a regional configuration controller like so, and it extends the abstract controller, and then we're going to create a public method called configure like so, and it will return a response. Fantastic. Can't be bothered to type all that out, so I'm just going to copy and paste it, and then we're going to say regional settings. Like so. Okay, excellent. So now we'll have a page that we can go to define our regional settings. So we can say return this generate regional configuration .html.twig, like so. The yellow is just telling us it doesn't exist. We create that, and there we go, we've created the file. Okay, so what do we want inside of here? Well, we need a form. So inside of our form, and inside of the form, it's a way that I filter out the other ones. So for example, you can have form, form filter, and that would be a form where you're not actually creating something, you're just defining something or searching for something. Or you could have a form type, where you create your own custom type. And this way you kind of separate the complexity. And seeing as that we're not actually creating anything in here, we're just configuring something, we're going to put it inside of the form filter. So we can say regional configuration filter, like so. And again, I can't be bothered to type all that stuff out, so just copy and paste. There we go. Right, so what do we need on here? We need a I think what would be a good idea is if before we fill this in, we actually create a transfer object. So we'll call it the regional, if I can spell it, regional configure, why am I struggling with that word? Configuration DTO, like so. And then inside of here we need to define the same things that we have that we created before. So the what was it? Inside of our subscriber, the time zone, currency, and locale. There we go. So we can do that and paste, put that there, and equals null. And over here we need to add null as well. Okay, cool. And then we can just generate the getters and setters. Yep, fantastic. Okay, and this will be a final class, by the way. So now if we go back to our form or filter, and we can define it as a regional configuration filter, and then inside of here, that should be filter not form, filter, and that should have fixed that. Okay, there we go. So inside of here now, we can say local, or locale rather, and this will be a language type. We can get rid of that. But we can say in here it's required as false, because none of these fields will actually be required. So the next one is the currency. My spelling is terrible, so I'm just going to copy and paste. There we go. Rather the other way around. I like to keep things in the same order if I can. And this will be a currency type. And then lastly a time zone type. Right. Now we need to go back to our controller, and inside of here we can create the regional configuration form. Or filter rather. This create form, regional filter class, and there we go. Now here we can say the regional configuration is going to be a new DTO, like so. And you could define some default values on that if you wanted to, on the DTO that is, but I'm not going to at the moment. So we will need to say if is submitted. Oh, the filter is submitted, and configuration filter is valid, like so. And we will also need the request, the HTTP one, there we go. And then here we can say filter handle request, and then pass in the request like that. Fantastic. Right, now we need to handle this form, and the way we can do this is we have the listener that we created, or the subscriber that we created here, where we're setting the values, so that when a request comes in, all of these values are being set into the session. But really, if we look at the controller we just created, that's exactly what we're going to have to do in here as well. So I smell the need of a service coming about. So basically all the service is going to do, if we go into our services, we can say regional configuration service. Service. There we go. And let's just copy that. New file, regional service, configuration service. Okay, and again, this is a final class. And inside of here, all we're going to do is have a public class, and it's going to be called configure. Again, if I can spell it. And this will return void, but it will accept some things that we need. So first thing is it's going to accept the I'm debating whether we should make it accept the DTO, or if we should make it accept the strings of the DTO. So for example, the time zone. I think we're going to go for the DTO. So we will say what type is going to be. It's a regional configuration DTO. There we go. And then here we will also need the request stack. Now, I don't generally like to use constructor arguments when creating something like a service, because it means that you have to mess around with all sorts of things. So what we'll do is we will pass it into the thing itself, and the request stack like so. So now what we can do is we can say request stack get session like so, and now we can go back over to the subscriber, grab all of that stuff there and paste it in. But we need to change this to get the time zone, and this, whoops, to get the currency, and this to get the locale, like so. Right, so now we've got that, we can go back over to the subscriber and now pass in that service we just created, and now we can say this regional configuration service configure. Now the more intelligent of you would have realized we don't actually have a DTO, so we can just create that. Like this, and what we'll actually do is I'll create inside of the DTO, I'll add the constructor arguments so that we can just pass it in more easily. So inside of here, time zone, I love the named arguments thing because it tells you exactly what you're passing in and what it should be. It's fantastic. Right, there we go, and there we can pass that in. But we also need the request stack, which we can get from here. So we'll do that, request stack, and then we can also use named arguments here. Request stack, was it? Should be. Missing the request stack, like so. This request event, no request. Never mind. I don't actually need to pass in the request stack here. I can just get it from the event here. So event get request. So we can actually change the type from request stack. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pass in the request stack because it might not be the request later. So request, that's why it was complaining. Like so, request stack. And then do that, and there we go. Very good. And we can essentially reuse this part inside of the controller. Once the form is submitted, we can set or configure the required regional configuration. And it was private, read only, request stack, like so, request stack. But here we're going to be passing in, I didn't actually put the regional configuration DTO here, which I should do because we want to know it's a DTO. There we go. Regional configuration service, yes, and we need to pass that in too, which we can do here, and we'll rename it like so. Interesting. Of course, the name service, there we go. Okie dokie. And then here we can return this, redirect to route, and we'll just redirect it to the same route with the updated settings. But we'll add in a flash. We should have an enum for the flash, I think, but we don't actually have it in this one. And actually I don't think we've configured flash anyway, so no point. So we will just return it like so. As you noticed here, we're not actually passing in the values here, so we need to make sure these are nullable. So for example, null, you could leave it like, I just like this syntax more personally. Let's make it a bit more readable, like so. Equals null, and null. Like so. Fantastic. Okay, so now if we go back, it should disappear. Good. So we can pass things in if we want. If not, we can just instantiate the object. Cool beans. Right. So now, what else do we have to do? I think that's pretty much it. So we can, let's go to our template. Do we have a navbar? Not really, no we don't. Okay. In that case then, we will just create a new button on here that says configure, or change language or something, maybe regional settings. Like so. Now the path that this is going to is obviously going to be regional settings. No, not that. Regional underscore settings, there we go. And right. So if we head over to our application, give it a refresh. And we have an error. So let's see what's going on. So that event. Of course. Oops, daisy. So in the subscriber, I haven't actually given it any information. If we click through here, we need to say what type of event it is and the priority. I defined it in here instead, which is the old way of doing things. The new way is using the attribute. So in here we can say the event is the request event, and then the method is going to be handle time zone, and we don't need anything else, I don't think. I think we can get rid of that now. Yes. Ooh, we can make it read only apparently. Maybe it will throw an error. Let's see. Right. So that should do the trick. So if we go back to our browser and refresh, and there we go. We have a button that says regional settings. It obviously doesn't look very good at the moment, but let's see if it's working. If we click over to there, aha, we get another error. The form view data is expected to be okay. I think I may have made a mistake in the type. Let's just see. That's correct. That's correct. Aha, here we go. This is the problem here. Needs to be the DTO, not the filter. And if we refresh again, aha, okay, there we go. So we're getting a blank screen now. We're making progress. The reason it's blank is because we actually haven't filled out the form, the stuff here. So we need to let's just copy Yes, that should do. If we just copy that like so, and then end block. There we go, excellent. And we also, actually, importantly, we need to pass in this filter to the front end, otherwise we won't have access to it. Like so. So now we can say start, form start, regional configuration filter. And there we go. And next we want the time zone, currency, and locale, like so. And we need to add a button to save this information. You know what, I'm just going to copy a button from here, like so. I'm tired of typing out all this stuff that's rather superfluous. And we can just say save, and this is going to be the type of submit. There we go, fantastic, wonderful, excellent, first rate. Yep. Okay, cool. So now if we refresh, there we go, we have some information. Well, we have a form that's empty. Obviously at the moment there will be null, so it won't display anything. But when we refresh the page, or sorry, not refresh the page, when we set the values in here, let's say we're in Amsterdam and the currency is euros and the locale we want is English, and we save that. Right, so if we head over to the event index page, now inside of here we'll create a div and we'll give it a text red, and then inside of here we will say app session get, and then get the locale, and then do the same thing for the currency and the same thing for the time zone, like so. I think we actually had it in that order. Right, so now if I refresh, well, what do you know? The values that we set earlier are still there. Pretty cool. Okay, so that tells us that it's working as we would want it to be. Let's put that as a row, and there we go. There we go. Okay. So let's just put 4. Give it enough space, you know. Excellent. Okay, and then for these two, we'll just put upper, like so. And then this one we will say format time zone. Should be, I think that's a time zone name, that's the one. Now let's see if we go back to the regional settings. We can also see here that it's not set the settings that we would like to have. So we can just head over to our regional configuration filter for a second, and inside of here we can inject the request stack, and then we can just say data this request stack. Sorry, we need to get the session first. Always forget to do that. Session, like so, and then session get locale, like that, and then in here the currency, and then finally in here the time zone. Fantastic. So now if we go back to the application and refresh, we should have those values inside of our form. And there we go, we do. So now if we want to change the time zone, let's say we want to put it to America and New York. America, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, where's New York? New York, there we are. And we're going to put it to US dollars. And we're going to put it to Spanish for some odd reason. And we save that. And there we go. And if we go back to our events page, and there we are. Our locale has been changed, as has our other information. Now the next part is actually using this information to do something. So, for example, changing the locale to Spanish once you actually change it to Spanish would be quite useful, but that will be in a next video of localization. And this is how we can internationalize our application in Symfony 7.